Alright, sup fellow citizens, welcome back to the Path of Rage and our Tuesday Star Citizen coverage for the week. We got a lot to cover today, actually. We have a roadmap roundup, the April monthly report, a new ground vehicle to take a look at, and a very cool Inside Star Citizen that went over a bunch of new mission chains that we have to look forward to in 4.11. It's going to be a little bit longer of an episode, so make sure you got a drink at hand, and let's get into it. Now first up, because this is the quickest of the updates, we're going to go with the roadmap update. And right now we have new things that have been committed to the 4.1 release. The first is the new local site maintenance missions, which are only going to be in Pyro for now, which you have to go and fix equipment using your repair tool. Animal population control missions have now been added, and I believe these affect both systems at this point. And the new mission, the Hunt the Polaris, is being added to 4.1. The Frontier fighters have stolen a Polaris. We'll get into this more in the Inside Star Citizen update because they go into this in depth with the mission, and I will have video for you to hear them describe what this mission is all about. We've gotten 4 new additional hairstyles for those who are really into the customization. The SMG Volt Quartz at the Hathor locations has been added to the game now as well. It's set to committed, and a balance pass to the components generators of ships based on their class types. This has been focused on the civilian, military, industrial, those various types of differences in the components. This has been a balance pass on all of those to actually differentiate them from each other and give real reasons to pick one over the other instead of just a meta component that everyone's going to go for. They've also listed off all of the new ships, or pardon me, special ships that have been added to Wickelow's Emporium. Now this is pretty cool. You get the Starlancer Max, the Saber Firebird, the Saber Peregrine, the RSI Zeus ES, and the CL, the Crusader Intrepid, all with top grade components, and you can get these by exchanging favors for Wickelow and for his rewards. This is pretty cool. I like the idea of going for one of the Zeuses and the Intrepid. Like, I like this. This is a good addition. The roadmap also had a bunch of stuff that I'm not showing here that was already released into the current build. It's stuff we've already got, like Heavy Fighter Archetype Balance Pass, the Grenade Launcher Pass, a few things like that. All of the stuff that I've gone over so far, though, has been committed to be coming in with 4.11. So there's yet a little bit more that's being added to this upcoming patch. This is going to be a big one, folks. I'm looking forward to it. Next up is an interesting post I noticed on the dev tracker where CIG Nicolo made a post of things that are coming in the 4.1 patch as well that are a little bit smaller, haven't actually made it fully to the patch notes, but will have a nice improvement in the game. For instance, they've made targeted improvements to the mining gameplay loop. Better mineable distributions, better rock and atlas geo-handling, a whole bunch of stuff like that. There are patch notes that you can find on it. You can just go check the website for that. Refineries can now refine output directly into your local inventory. This is a big change, actually. Even though it's a little thing, it's a very welcome change to the mining and refining process, especially for bags going onto cargo grids and freight elevators. They fixed the refineries eating the containers, even though some of them are slightly bigger than 2 SCU. They're working on that. He does mention, as I'm showing here with the screenshot, the components balance pass and what they're going for with the different components and the different grades of how this will apply to overall ship components and shield generators between civilian, competition, industrial, military, and stealth. And again, some will be higher to maintain, like higher cost to maintain, but more effective, and others will be easier on the wallet, but maybe not as effective and vice versa. There will be reasons to take these different components depending on what you want that ship to do. It won't, they're going to try and make it so that components just don't boil down to just get this one for this ship. This is the one component you need. They've also made some nice updates to Wicklow with his currency and his missions. Now, he wants juvenile Valakar fangs, and he will give or take guild scripts and ace helmets. Now, obviously, the Valakar fangs can be found in any of the Hathor locations, but you have to progress the station there and the mission to get them to pop up. They can also be found on one of the planets in Pyro, even up to the large one, but he will take the fangs from them. And then the guild script can be found on high profile NPCs in various places, so I assume bounty missions perhaps, and the ace helmets. This they'll go into in a little bit when we get into the inside Star Citizen about the new missions. This has to do with taking on the ace pilots, but you can get guild script and then you can go to Wicklow and turn in the script for these awesome rewards that he has. He has armor, weapons, and the ships that they've just added. They've improved the looting to the point that this has been my experience in game already, to be honest. It's a lot easier to loot bodies. You don't have to find just that perfect spot to bring up the interaction and loot the body. It makes looting in a combat situation when you are desperate for supplies much more viable. And now also they think they've gotten rid of the bug where you would loot a body and drop your fully loaded weapon. That's bonus. That one's hit me a few times. It's very annoying. It gets you killed almost every time. Glad to see that they think they've got that one taken care of. On to the monthly report. The AI content team seemed to work on how players receive communication from mission givers, be it in person or perhaps over the Omni tool or whatnot. It mentions preparing captured audio and animation files in DataForge to implement them. This kind of sounds like we might be looking at the various ways that you could actually interact with the NPCs. You might see them straight up face to face, like some we've had like Tekio or Miles Eckhart, but we've also got Wicklow now that we've only seen so far on our comlink, on our MFDs and our ships. So they were obviously working on more of that. They've been working on a new way of using AI to update players on storylines and events. And they're also working on NPC behavior for future mission events. The AI features team focused on refining the juvenile Valakar, so changes to its roaming behavior, less likely to get stuck on the terrain. They added a cooldown to its melee attacks, and they fixed an issue with it not looking at its actual target when emerging from the ground. The work on the Valakars also helped out and were useful in setting up new ways for DataForge to work with subsumption, and that means the designers can rapidly create new variants and specific scenarios and gameplay needs going forward instead of having to hand code them one by one ahead of time. On the human combat AI side, they were focusing on reactions and escalations, how they react to wild lines, and how NPCs react to events. And this will be useful in scenarios where NPCs are required to focus on a task instead of the actual combat at hand. Finally, for this section, they continued to polish how NPCs react to compromised cover, and they implemented a new prototype technology to have NPCs lower their weapons when friendly fire is detected. As for the game intelligence development team, this stuff is a bit above my pay grade. Those of you who know anything about programming and how some of these tools that they use can read what this says on the text. For me, the one thing that stands out is that they continue their research discussions on the mission system to provide the designers with tools to help them easily create entertaining missions for players. I like the idea of entertaining missions for players, but yeah, the rest of that is about the tools and how the devs use the tools that I've never seen. So yeah, moving on. The AI tech team worked on a bunch of different things, to be quite honest, including various improvements in cleaning up requests involving multiple start and end locations, improving chase target requests that allow chasing of ground target vehicles along NPCs. That could be cool for future missions. Various bugs were fixed for the ship AI. Improvements were made to cover generation, and StarScript functionality was extended as requested by the designers. The animation team made progress with the Valacar, supported the various new mission givers and world NPCs, and they began working on a new creature as yet unnamed. The EU ships art team focused on tasks for the Invictus week, which goes live this Thursday, including 3 new ships planned for that event. The Starlancer TAC, which we went over in the last episode, and also 4 unannounced vehicles that they were making progress on. One is in white box, the second is approaching its gray box review and level of detail 0, so first stage complete. The third was shown briefly on an episode of Inside Star Citizen, but I don't know what that was. I don't recall that. I might have missed it. And the fourth vehicle is a new one from an existing manufacturer that hasn't done anything in a while, and that is just being started. Work has been progressing on the Consolidated Outland Pioneer. It's going through pre-production in white box. Their modular kits were solidified, and they continued to define the core visual elements to inject that Consolidated Outland art style. This is a big ass ship. This one's going to be in production for a while. It's the one that can build your homesteads and smaller ships itself, if I recall correctly. People are looking forward to this one. I would say to those of you, if you are watching this video, don't get your hopes up that that's coming out anytime soon. That's a big project that they're working on. They also created some new paints for existing ships in coming events. The North American team began closing out 2 new variants of something we already have, with further bug fixing and polishing, and an all-new ship that they're working on. It seems like it's a cargo ship because it says the decisions were being made on cargo capacity and tractor beam placement. So let's see, maybe it's an entirely new concept ship or a cargo ship from a manufacturer we haven't seen yet. That's always interesting. The RSI Apollo, the medical ship, is going through gray box where they're concepting the med bay and the bridge. The med bay and the bridge, I have to say, are the most important parts of that ship because it's basically a flying ambulance. And they continued to work on the RSI Perseus to define the interior and make sure it functions as intended. Core gameplay got absolutely busy last month, and there is a list here of changes that they have made and dug into. I'll just point out a couple that stood out of interest to me, but you guys can pause this and check out the entire thing to really know what's going on, because they really got to work this month. They obviously continued working on stabilizing and improving 4.11 with a focus on the space theme missions and monitoring the PTU. They're doing initiatives involving both Squadron 42 and Star Citizen, so these teams are working on both projects at once. They are, of course, working on the new spaceflight model and adjusting the new control surfaces and how that tech is going to work. Not adjusting, pardon me, investigating how that is going to work. They continue to polish FPS radar and scanning. We'll see how that plays out. Hopefully they don't overdo it and it becomes overpowered. And actually quite a bit more. Like I said, they got really involved this last month. The economy team is, as ever, working on the economy. That I'll pay more attention to when Star Citizen is closer to live. Like full 1.0 release live, not PTUs and the current alpha build. But they're also looking into the next iteration of item recovery. The mission design team is focused on improving mission quality and adding the new mission types, which is coming up in the discussion about the Inside Star Citizen. Adding these new mission types has also allowed them to find and fix some other long-standing issues with ship-based reinforcements and ship wave missions. The narrative team, of course, kept working on the narrative and improving the flow and helping the branding team. The online technology team worked on various things that, kind of simplifying it down, for an example, allows the streamlining and simplifying of respawn processes and things like that to allow a player to be streamed into a medical bed, pardon me, or redirected to a medical bed without being streamed in. This will improve performance and responsiveness to the game going forward. The R&D department looked into cloud and atmosphere ray march as part of their lightning evaluation, and looked into dynamic weather and temporal stability for the weather itself, and extra helpers for CPU weather inquiries, and further improvements to the sun and fixes for animated noise and banding. The UI team worked on the UI styles for various upcoming vehicles and supported environmental storytelling. And of course, the VFX team worked on Invictus launch week and pretty much everything that involves making the game look better. That is the VFX team. Moving on. Next up, we have the Greycat MTC, the new ground vehicle from Greycat Industrial. It has suit lockers, weapons bays, a weapon bay for heavy weapons, apparently. We'll have to see what that's all about, along with 4 component bays. This is actually a ground vehicle that I like the look of for things like the bunker assault missions. Or a lot of the times, if you're attacking, say, an unlawful station, and the turrets will be used against you. At the moment, and probably going forward into the future, the turrets don't shoot at ground vehicles. They only shoot at flyers, because they're anti-air in general. This is the type of vehicle that I could absolutely see loading into the back of my ship to land out of range of a base that I have to assault, and then jump in this ground vehicle to get there. You used to do that in the PU with the Cyclone ages and ages ago, because all turrets were hostile to you, regardless if you were a criminal or not. But this is just another way to get into those ground defenses, because turrets can actually rip a ship apart. So yeah, this vehicle has actually got my interest. Again, I've said it a million times, I'll say it again. Stick with the base pledge, pick this up in game when it becomes available, but I think this is planned to come out with 4.1. I could be wrong on that, but in any case, I'm interested in this little vehicle. Now, this is the part that really got my interest this week and has my interest peaked a lot for 4.1 and going forward. And this was the Inside Star Citizen about missions that are coming to the persistent universe. Now, usually on this type of video, I would provide some smaller clips maybe, or just the background B footage and kind of go over the overall gist of it. But this is cool enough and to the point enough that I'm going to show you a little bit more extended clips, so you can hear what they have to say about what's coming regarding missions in the future, because I think this shit is dope. So here's the first part. Let's get into this.
In Alpha 411, we are going to be dropping about 60 new missions, and it's going to be our biggest drop since 4.0. Let's start with our big headliner, Hunt the Polaris. Hunt the Polaris is a mission where the Frontier fighters have stolen a UEE Polaris, which was bound for Invictus, and they're trying to escape with it and get it back to Pirate. Your job is to stop them.
We can't let them get away.
In order to stop them, you are chasing them around Stanton. You have to search for them, you have to ambush them, you have to defend other ships from them as well as they continue on their path to Pyro.
When you encounter the Polaris, it won't be alone. It will have some Frontier fighter friends as backup.
Let's get the hell out of here.
What's really cool about this mission is you don't even have to do it alone.
The Polaris wants him away.
The UE have sent their own guys as well, and there's a hammerhead that, if you keep alive, will help keep you alive too. I think it'll be a really good test of just how strong your friends are, and yourself too.
Okay, now this sounds really cool. And for those of you who've been around Star Citizen long enough, is it just me, or does this not remind you of the in-game event that we had, where we had to take supplies to Jericho Station and then defend the Javelin. I can't remember the name of that mission event offhand, but that's what this reminds me of, just a little bit less complicated. Now, from the description that they just gave us, it is 100% obvious that this is not a solo event whatsoever. Not only are other players going to be there, so is the UEE AI fighting this Polaris. This is one of those events where everyone just can jump in and have a good time. But watch out, because there will be those who try to help the Polaris out. This looks cool. I'm down with this. I have not been able to try this one yet just because of my schedule now that I'm back to work. But I'm really looking forward to it. And if you guys have tried this out in the PTU currently, if you are backers who are in the PTU, sound off in the comments below. What do you think of this particular mission? But let's check out the next one.
Next, there are 12 different patrol contracts split between Headhunters and Foxwell.
Foxwell being the faction that gives you the legal version of these missions, and Headhunters will give you the illegal version.
These are definitely going to be geared towards players just going straight for ship combat. They're probably going to be very, very direct, not overarching multi-level missions, but hey, maybe we'll see. Moving on to the next edition that's coming in 4.11.
The patrol missions in 4.11 are a little different than our standard missions. We wanted a mission that was not linear. You will go to a point throughout space, and it will randomly generate between our pool of current objectives.
Now, these missions are obviously catering more towards the PvE players in this game, the patrol missions. And like they mentioned, there are 4 different aspects or outcomes that can happen when you get to one of those points. Once you get to the proper nav marker that it gives you, it will choose between 4 different objectives that it wants you to complete. Objective 1 is kill everything that shows up at that point. The second objective is protection of a ship that is under attack. The third objective is called search and destroy, and this is already a mission that we have as well in the PU. You have to go to a spot, scan, and you will find like a radar sensor or a beacon in space or whatnot, and you'll have to scan it and see if it's friendly or if it's an enemy illegal scanner. If it's friendly, you'll move on, and if it's an illegal scanner, you'll blow it up and maybe face the enemies that show up when you do so.
There are also now 12 new ambush contracts, also split between Foxwell and Headhunters.
An ambush mission is where you lie in wait for your target to appear before striking them fast and hard.
Now, what this entails is these new high emission areas within an area of space that you will actually be able to hide your ship in, so the incoming enemies won't be able to detect you while you're in there. There'll be a scout ship that comes in. It scans the area. If you're properly positioned in this high emissions area, it won't detect you, and it will call in the cargo ship that it's escorting. That is when you will jump out and destroy the cargo ship. And it sounds like these high emission zones might stick around, because they mentioned that players will be able to use them on their own for both PvE and PvP reasons. So this looks like we're getting a new addition to the overall PU. High emission areas where you will be able to actually hide your ship in. You'll be able to monitor that on your MFDs. That is a really nice addition to the persistent universe, especially for those that really want to go into depth with it. Now, one thing that they brought up in Inside Star Citizen, which I mentioned before in this episode, was the topic of ace pilots. Once again, I'm going to let them sum that up for you because it puts a nice T on it.
Many of these new missions have a chance to spawn an ace pilot.
This guy's just picked up a ship that we've tagged as extremely dangerous.
They are either aligned with the Headhunters or the UEE. You won't always know when they're going to arrive. So they will always be a sort of rogue variable inside those missions that you'll have to deal with.
Talking about their skill level.
Oh yeah, their skills crank. I can't crank it any harder. So I'm thinking, so skilled is definitely their name.
Now this is cool because it adds even more, and this has been going on for a while, but even in combat situations, this adds a bit more to PU, because you can take these pilots out, and from the sounds of it, they are going to be a challenge to those of us who aren't good in combat for certain, but possibly even to people who are very good at ship combat in the game, even at this point. And you'll be able to get that guild script, which is what I talked about with Wicklow. This is the stuff you're going to turn in for ships and armor and weapons and the various rewards. They've also added these scripts in to be found at random places all around Invictus launch week, on like in the actual pavilion and pretty much everywhere in the PU that they want to put them. That has not been a different thing for Star Citizen in forever. They do this all the time, the red letters and whatnot. So if you are doing Invictus Free Fly launch week, jump around and look around for these scripts, because you will be able to turn them into the various factions for rewards. You'll also be able to get these scripts from the new combat missions. So there are ways for you to be able to get these rewards from Wicklow going forward, more than just one. Now they have made a change this year to Invictus launch week. It used to be that they would have daily rotating manufacturers, or manufacturers that would only go for a certain amount of time before they were gone for good. That has changed now with this Invictus, where all the manufacturers are going to be on display at Invictus in the various halls, and the displays that are available will be on a rotating daily or by twice or every other day, or maybe twice daily rotation. So you just have to show up and you will have access to at least half of all the available ships at Invictus launch week at whatever time you're there. You'll be able to come back later on, either in the day or the next day, and have access to all the rest, instead of just having like RSI available on this day and this day, and Drake on this day and this day. I actually like this change. I didn't like how you had to be there at specific times. What if you really wanted to try out a constellation? You'd never done that. You were a newer player to the game. But the one day that you could have been there to get it for free and rent it in the game and fly it around and try it out was the day you had to work, or the day you just couldn't be there. I like this idea a hell of a lot better. Another thing to note that we showed off in our last episode, I believe, or maybe the one before, no, it was the last episode, was that if you were at Area 18 and you go up the main ArcCorp Tower, you can now do the tour of the Idris P, the private, non-military version of the Idris, the ones that players can own in-game. It's a badass ship, it's gorgeous, it's well laid out. We went through a run-through in the last episode. If you haven't seen it, check it out. But that is available now be available now at Invictus launch week, starting on Thursday. And that is it this week for our Star Citizen updates. This 4.1.1 patch is actually turning out to be quite a big one. I'm looking forward to it. I've been playing it a bit in the Evocati, of course. And my experience, I don't know about the latest patch. The current build that's being released tonight is not out as of the recording of this video. But my last session that I tried out, I played for about 3 hours. I didn't have a single crash. I didn't have any desync. I didn't have any issues whatsoever, which is very unusual. Usually there is something. So far what I see is that they're actually holding true to their this year is going to be the year of quality thing, and they're knocking this out of the park. And 4.1.1 is turning out to be a bigger patch than I expected. I'm looking forward to it. I hope you guys are. I hope you found this episode informative and enjoyable to watch. If you did, give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you're new and want to see more. And I hope to see you in the universe. This is the game that I've been waiting for a long time, and it's moving along nicely. Until next time, I have been Rayjet Games, and I'll see you in the verse. Bye-bye.